A man rarely understands the value of a woman when she is standing beside him. He understands it when he turns around and discovers she is no longer there. Have you ever wondered why some men suddenly come back after months, sometimes years, carrying apologies they never had before? Why the same person who once ignored her tears suddenly speaks of regret, change, and second chances? Tonight, we're exploring a truth that few people talk about honestly. Because the moment a man realizes his mistake is not always the moment he deserves another chance. Imagine this. A woman spends years loving someone with patience. She forgives the forgotten messages. She overlooks the emotional distance. She stays through the confusion, the inconsistency, the promises that never quite become reality. And then one day, she stops. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she finally started loving herself. At first, he doesn't notice. Life continues. Friends distract him. His ego protects him. He convinces himself that she will return the way she always has. But something strange begins to happen. The silence becomes louder than her words ever were. The absence becomes heavier than her presence. And for the first time, he is forced to sit alone with the consequences of what he took for granted. That is where regret is born. But regret is a complicated thing. Sometimes it leads to transformation. Sometimes it leads only to loneliness. And knowing the difference may be one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn about love. Because not every return is redemption, and not every goodbye is meant to be reversed. Tonight we'll uncover the psychological truth about why men come back, what regret really means, and whether second chances can truly create a different ending. Chapter 1. The pain of losing what he thought would never leave. Most people imagine heartbreak as a dramatic event. A door slams, a relationship ends, two people walk away. But for many men, the real heartbreak begins much later. When she leaves, his mind often protects him from reality. Psychologists call this emotional buffering. The brain minimizes loss to reduce immediate pain. At first, he feels relief. No more difficult conversations, no more expectations, no more accountability. Freedom appears attractive, but freedom has a strange way of revealing what attachment once concealed. Weeks pass. The morning text is gone. The familiar voice disappears. The person who always cared is suddenly absent, and that's when reality arrives. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote that we rarely appreciate what we possess until it is lost. Human beings are wired this way. We become accustomed to blessings. We stop seeing them, like someone living beside the ocean who no longer hears the waves. Many men mistake familiarity for permanence. They assume love will wait, that patience is endless, that forgiveness is guaranteed, but every human heart has a limit. When she finally reaches hers, something irreversible happens. The dynamic changes. For the first time, he experiences life without the emotional safety net he once ignored. And suddenly, memories begin replaying. The sacrifices she made, the nights she stayed, the love he overlooked, the moments he could have chosen differently. This is the birthplace of regret. Not because he suddenly discovered her value, but because he finally lost access to it. And that realization can shake a man more deeply than he ever expected. Chapter 2. Why regret is not the same as change. This is where many stories of love become complicated, because regret is powerful. It can make a man cry. It can make him call in the middle of the night. It can make him write long messages, revisit old photographs, and replay every mistake in his mind. But regret and transformation are not the same thing. A man can regret losing a woman and still remain the exact person who caused her pain. Think about a traveler who gets lost in a desert. He regrets taking the wrong path. But regret alone does not teach him how to navigate. Learning does, growth does, discipline does, and relationships work the same way. Many men return because they miss what they had. Far fewer return because they have truly become different. The ancient philosopher Epictetus taught that knowledge is not proven by words, but by behavior. Anyone can say, "I've changed." Anyone can promise things will be different. But real change leaves evidence. It appears in actions long before it appears in speeches. This is why second chances often fail. The man comes back carrying regret. The woman hears the apology, hope returns. Memories return, emotions return. Yet the habits remain unchanged. The same emotional unavailability, the same lack of effort, the same selfish patterns wearing a new disguise. And eventually, the relationship collapses under the weight of old wounds. The truth is uncomfortable. Missing someone is not growth. Loneliness is not growth. Fear of losing someone is not growth. Growth happens when a person confronts the parts of themselves they spent years avoiding. It happens when ego is replaced by humility, when excuses are replaced by responsibility, when self-awareness becomes stronger than self-protection. Carl Jung once observed that people do not become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, a man changes only when he faces the flaws that created the loss in the first place. And that journey is far more difficult than simply saying, "I want her back." Because wanting someone back is emotional. Becoming worthy of another chance is transformational. The woman who understands this difference protects herself from one of life's most painful illusions, the belief that regret automatically equals redemption. Sometimes it does, but often it is only the first step of a much longer journey. And that brings us to a deeper question. What happens when a man's regret becomes genuine self-reflection? What happens when the loss forces him to confront who he really is? That is where the story begins to change. Chapter 3: The transformation that regret can create. There is a moment that arrives in certain men's lives, a moment when excuses stop working. At first, he blames circumstances. The timing was wrong, life was stressful. She expected too much. The relationship was complicated, but eventually the noise fades, and all that remains is a difficult truth. He was part of the problem. This is the moment that separates regret from transformation. Because genuine growth begins when a person stops asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and starts asking, "What can this teach me about myself?" For many men, this realization is painful. The ego hates accountability. It prefers stories that protect pride. But maturity begins where pride ends. Imagine a man standing in front of a mirror that reflects not his face, but his choices. He sees every moment he could have listened but didn't, every time he chose comfort over effort, every time he expected understanding without offering it. For the first time, he cannot look away. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke about confronting the shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves we would rather ignore. The truth is that most people spend years running from themselves, but heartbreak has a way of stopping the escape. The silence she leaves behind becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, he meets himself. Not the version he pretended to be, the version he truly was. That encounter can be devastating, yet it can also be liberating, because awareness creates possibility. A man who genuinely understands his mistakes gains something valuable, the ability to choose differently. He learns patience. He learns emotional responsibility. He learns that love is not maintained through grand gestures, but through daily presence, through consistency, through respect, through attention. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." In relationships, the same principle applies. When a man finally understands why he lost someone meaningful, he becomes capable of enduring the difficult work required to grow. And growth is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly, in the conversations he now handles differently, in the emotions he no longer avoids, in the habits he gradually replaces, in the humility he develops when nobody's watching. The irony is that true transformation often happens when he stops focusing on getting her back. Instead, he focuses on becoming better, not to win someone, not to erase guilt, but because he finally understands that the person he was can no longer carry him into the future. And when that happens, something remarkable occurs. The loss no longer defines him. The lesson does. But there is one final truth about second chances that few people are willing to face, and it may be the most important lesson of all. Chapter 4. The truth about second chances and why some love stories should not be rewritten. Because when a man realizes his mistake and wants her back, the story feels as though it should have a happy ending. Movies teach us that realization leads to reunion, that regret leads to redemption, that one heartfelt apology can repair years of neglect. But real life is more complicated, and sometimes much more heartbreaking. Imagine a gardener who forgets to water a beautiful flower. Day after day, he assumes it will survive. He believes there will always be tomorrow. Then one morning he notices the petals beginning to fall. Suddenly, he rushes to care for it. Suddenly he pays attention. Suddenly he understands its value, but understanding value after damage has been done does not erase the damage itself. This is the painful reality many people face. Growth is real. Transformation is possible, but neither guarantees reconciliation, because while he was learning his lesson, she was learning hers. While he was discovering regret, she was discovering peace. While he was realizing what he lost, she was rebuilding the parts of herself that had been broken. And that matters. Often, people speak as though the person who leaves simply waits in emotional suspension until the other returns. But life doesn't work that way. People evolve. Wounds heal. New identities emerge. The woman who finally walked away may not be the same woman he left behind. She may have learned boundaries. She may have discovered self-respect. She may have built a life that no longer requires the love she once begged for. And there is nothing cruel about that. In fact, there is something profoundly beautiful about it. Because true healing is not about making someone miss you. It is about becoming whole, whether they return or not. This is where many men face their greatest test. Can he accept her decision even if it breaks his heart? Can he respect her healing even if it means losing his chance? Can he love her enough to let her choose the future she deserves? That is where genuine maturity reveals itself. Not in the pursuit, not in the apology, but in the acceptance. The philosopher Lao Tzu taught that forcing creates resistance, while allowing creates harmony. Sometimes the most loving thing a person can do is stop trying to rewrite a chapter that has already ended, because not every second chance is meant to reunite two people. Some second chances are personal, a second chance to become wiser, a second chance to become kinder, a second chance to become the person heartbreak tried to teach you to be. And perhaps that is the deepest truth of all. When a man realizes his mistake, he stands at a crossroads. One path is driven by desperation, the other by growth. One asks, how do I get her back? The other asks, how do I become better because I lost her? The first seeks an outcome, the second seeks transformation, and transformation is always the more powerful choice. Because there are moments when love returns. There are stories where two people meet again as healthier versions of themselves, where lessons were learned, where trust was rebuilt, where a second chance becomes a beautiful new beginning. But there are also stories where the reunion never comes, and yet the lesson remains, the growth remains, the wisdom remains. The person becomes stronger because of what happened. Not despite it, but because of it. So, if a man realizes his mistake and wants her back, remember this. The question is not whether he regrets losing her. The question is whether the loss transformed him. And the question is not whether she still loves him. The question is whether returning serves the woman she has become. Because second chances are not rewards for regret. They are opportunities earned through growth. Sometimes love comes back, sometimes it doesn't. But every heartbreak leaves behind a choice. To remain the same, or to become someone wiser because of what was lost. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not losing someone you loved. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is losing the opportunity to learn from that loss. So tonight, ask yourself, if the person you miss walked through your door tomorrow, would they meet the same version of you who lost them? Or would they meet someone entirely different? The answer to that question may reveal whether your story is waiting for another chapter, or whether its true purpose was to change you forever.